Man, I had a great year in Portugal. I got out there end of August. We started practice early September, and the city that I was in is called Albufeira. I played for Immortal Basketball Club. And Immortal this past season was going through a lot of changes. A lot of change in the club altogether, new coaching staff, new players, new everything basically. And when we got out there, I already knew the Coach Bernardo, told me that I was going to be one of the older guys on the team because it's a lot of young guys. We had three guys over 30, a guy at 28, and I'm at 26 as being the oldest guys on the team. And I knew that I was going to have to take on a leadership role, and it was a lot early on because it wasn't just about, leading other guys, but I had to get myself right as well. This is my first year really playing the four. I've always been a four, but I've never been able to play the four. I always played like a stretch five. But getting out there and playing the four, it was tough because when you've been doing something for so long and it's all you know, and then you have to switch later on when you've been in this groove of doing things a certain way. Even though it's the right position for me and the right way to be playing, it was tough, especially in our offense. We have different roles based on if you're at the 4 or the 5. The 4 is usually picking and popping. The 5 is picking and rolling. And if the 4 is involved in the action, for pick and pop, the 5 has to clear to the other side and then come to the elbow and do our continuations. All that stuff that we'll get into in a different episode. But getting out there, I had to adjust my off the court life with my basketball life. I had to get more ingratiated with the guys. I had to become a better teammate, like interact with the guys, go out with the guys, hang out with the guys, talk to the guys. I had to do that because at first, when I was struggling at the beginning of the season, my energy wasn't connected with the rest of the guys. And I think that basketball is a energy intense sport, and not in terms of the energy you exert, but in terms of being on the same page, having good positive vibes, the chemistry. And I wasn't really a part of the group until a little bit later on. And I had to get to that point. But the reason I got to that point, which gets me to the biggest part of my journey this year in Portugal, was having the I don't give a mentality. And that mentality is everything you need in this game. I've always struggled with it. Great players usually have that trait where they're not worried about the results. They're just focused on the process and just doing their best and going their hardest and doing whatever they can, just not worried about the outcomes. And it took a book for me to get to that point. The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up. I had to read that book, and it just showed me, not just in basketball, but in life, how much we worry about things that are out of our control. All we can do is our best. And whatever happens from that, you got to live with it. And it's so simple to say, just work hard, go as hard as you can, and things are going to work out. But if you're so focused on making things work out, things will not work out for you. You have to be focused on the process and the process alone. And whatever comes from that process is what you're supposed to get. And I got to the point where I felt a lot of pressure on myself. I wasn't playing well. I wasn't playing consistent. I wasn't being the player that I thought I could be. And there was a lot of noise in my own head about how I should be playing this year, knowing how important of a role I was supposed to play on this team. Like I was supposed to be one of the biggest pieces of this team, one of the biggest factors in how we were going to finish the season was going to be determined by my play. And it got to a point where I was so unhappy with how I was playing. The coach was unhappy with how I was playing. I got benched. That's right when I started reading the book. I started reading the book, the first chapter especially, and I realized, how much I was hurting my own self by trying so hard or wanting it so much that I just let go. I went out, I want to say I played maybe like probably 10, 15 minutes because I fouled out. But in that game, we're playing like a weaker team, a team we're supposed to beat. But at the time, we was a weak team. We only had one win at the time. And played Esguerra. And I just went into the game whenever I got a chance, was just going out to go as hard as I can, play the way that I want to play, with the energy I want to play with, and I don't care. I had got to the mentality like I had my rookie year when I was injured, and I was like, if I get cut, I get cut. It is what it is. But I'm gonna go out my way, and that's just going as hard as I can, and having as much fun as I can. And I went out and I played good in those minutes that I did play. I think I had like 10 points and a couple boards, something like that. And the energy was different though. I was getting the guys up on defense on the bench, defense chant, getting up high energy, confidence, like just positive vibes. And they just all wrapped together to turn my season around, because from that point on, it was smooth sailing. Like I was playing really well. I had good games against the top teams. I got my averages up. I started shooting the ball better. Like everything started going the way I wanted to go when I didn't care if it went that way or not, if that makes sense. But also within that process, I had to unlearn some bad habits or get back to the good habits that I've always had, because I didn't really have a whole lot of gym access in my other stops. Usually teams have gyms that they share with other teams within the club, or other teams, period, depending on where you're playing at. And our gym was pretty good access. Like I could get in there once a week and just get up shots on our off day, which I didn't really have at other places. The time slots versus our practice, like it just wasn't really an ideal situation to get in the gym. But I got back in the gym on my own. I started getting my shots on the gun. I started tracking those makes and my percentages, and my three-point percentage went up as I did that. And I just got back to being myself, because in Luxembourg, even though like I grew so much as a player, I was playing at a lower level. So I was on a lower level in terms of habits, and that's not good. And I got back to my high level habits that I was going to play at a higher level, which Portugal is, and it paid dividends. It paid a lot of dividends. But the thing that I loved most about this season and playing there was how much I learned and how much I was challenged. Like I said, when I first got there, I had to learn the difference between playing a 4 and a 5 in our system, when I generally would do whatever I want to, kind of playing as a stretch 5, picking and roll, picking and popping, spacing, not so much a problem because I'm the only one to paint in a 4-out-1-in system. And I learned about our system, the continuations to it, the off-ball movements, the timings, and defensively, it was a whole different world. I don't know if you guys that are watching also watch the Mind the Game pod with JJ Redick and LeBron James, but man, some of that stuff is really crazy. Like the things that you need to know to be a good defender, and the habits that we have as bigs is real. I was always the biggest guy on the court defensively, usually in my career, and I was basically the last line of defense. So whenever someone drives, I go to help. I'm always the helper. In our defensive system, we call it the last, the low man. If you're talking about the Mind the Game pod, you talk about the low man, the last guy over to help. And I had to learn that I can't help everyone. I can't save everyone. My coach, who was also the son of my coach in Luxembourg, had to tell me that I'm being a firefighter. And his father, who coached me in Luxembourg, also would say that I'm a firefighter. I'm always trying to save people, like defensively, especially that I was playing the forward. Like you can't always be the helper. It has to be the low man, the guy farthest away from the ball or the threat. And I learned that my blocks went down, so I'm still gonna have to balance being able to play defensive principles and still work on my shot blocking without fouling, all of that. But I learned a lot about help side and pick and roll defense as well. Like I'm terrible at hard hedging. I'll tell anyone that. But I got better this year. And especially in today's game with good guards, it's hard sometimes to beat that guy to the spot on a hard hedge. And my coach always says, first momentum, meaning getting to the screen on time. And that was something I really had to hammer in my head, like first momentum. He would say it all the time. In my head, I know like I got to get there on time. And it's something that I got to continue to work on. I'll be working on all off season, is being able to get to the screen on time so I can play the correct and proper defense. But I'm so glad that I went through those struggles. I'm still not the best hard hedger. That's already on film. That's the scout. I'm not the best. I'm better than some guys. Now I know I had my struggles, but I can get out there a little bit better than some guys. But I'm gonna work on that. Don't worry. But I learned so much offensively and defensively throughout the whole season, and I think it's gonna change my career. I told coach, like, I want to say one of my breakout games earlier in the year, like he sent me a text about how I was playing, how he's proud of me and everything, and I told him that I think coming to play for him that year was the best thing I could have done for my career, because I was at a low level and I had so much more to learn and so much more to grow. And this year I was challenged that way, and I see so much more about the game that I didn't know there was to uncover. And I'm so happy and so excited and so curious to keep getting better. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Towards the end of the season, we get to one of the last games of the regular season. We play Gallimar at Gallimar on the island, Madeira Island, and I have an ankle injury. And I know I harp on Goda, I harp on heels up training, and I still do. I was exposed and I learned that I was not doing the techniques properly. I will, well the We're not gonna get into a whole debate and discussion about how things should be done, but in general, you're supposed to load with your hips and push off the balls of your feet, not your toes, not like leaning all the way forward on your toes. You have to be on the balls of your feet, and that's something that I have not been doing in my training. I've been compensating my bad hips that I'm working on so much right now by being off my heels but being over on my toes when I need to be sitting down on the ball of my feet and still loading my hips instead of just cheating the process, which I didn't do intentionally. It's so much better if you have someone of the system that's coaching you there. I want to get out there one day and get the full breakdown and assessment of what I need to do better. But I learned that I was doing that, and I had to pay the price. Sometimes, you got to pay the price for things that you don't do intentionally. So I had the ankle thing, and that basically hampered me the rest of the season. The tendon never shook it back. I'm still recovering right now. Like it's a whole lot better than what it was, but it's still healing. And I just couldn't really move. At first, I was practicing basically just on one leg. It's like how my career started. I was going through the practice. We had some hard practice too. After that game we lost in Gallimar, we had the hardest practice of the season almost. We would be running a lot, doing it, the drills as intense as possible. Coach yelling and harping on us because he wanted us to finish the season on a good note. Even though we hadn't clinched playoffs, it was a high likelihood that we were about to clinch regardless if we won or not. And that's what happened. We didn't win any more games the rest of the season, but we clinched the playoffs. And I was out there running around on one leg. Coach had to come to me and sit me out for a week of practice and try to get back for the postseason play, the cup, and the playoffs. So I wasn't the same anymore the rest of the season, but I'll be fine by season next year. But yeah, I'm glad that happened. Even though I didn't want to be injured, no one ever wants to be injured. But I'm glad that I was able to learn what I was doing wrong so I can correct it and do better going forward. Because I think I told the coaches in my exit meeting, like, that injury could have happened earlier in the season when I was going through my rough stretch and I was on the verge of getting cut probably. And that would have been, heartbreaking. With all the doubters out there that said I couldn't make it anywhere besides Luxembourg, I'm glad that didn't happen because I showed myself that I for sure can make it outside Luxembourg. But with all that said, I can't forget about my teammates and how much they inspired me. I played with the MVP of the league, Jake. Shout out half brother Jake. We call ourselves half bros because coach said that I'm not a 4 or 5, I'm a 4.5, and said that he's not a 3 or a 4, he's a 3.5. So we call ourselves half bros. But shout out Jake. MVP had a great season. Came in later around January, I think, so mid-season. Had a great year. It was fun playing with him. The OG Ryan, even though he had the tough injury, fun playing with him. Great shooter, great guy, great personality. My guy DJ, first true point guard I played with since my senior year of high school when my point guard got hurt 6 games in. Duke, shout out Duke. But first point guard I played with in almost 10 years. That is about 10 years, honestly, 2014, 15. Yeah, and man, shout out Stormo, who was there at the beginning and left. Great guy, amazing jump hooks. Funny guy, he loved his sisters. Brandon, I was able to reconnect with him, play with him again. My buddy Big G, the French fella. Shout out G. Shout out all the young guys. Y'all saw the video, all the people on the team. But I just shout out the foreigners first. But shout out to all the guys on the team. Old Head, Fabio, all the young boys. The Dre's, the Peasies, the Bakers, my boy Mike. Everybody. Shout them all out, man. I learned so much from these guys in terms of that hunger, getting back to that with this young group. How much you got to continue to take care of your body to play longer your career for the older guys. And how much you need to have fun to be able to do your job to the best of your abilities, and how much more there is to gain, because no matter if anyone believes you or not, you could become the MVP of the league that you're playing in. You could come back from a major injury. You could continue to play to your late 30s. Like, I just saw a lot of things. Like, you can coach a team for the first time and take them to heights they haven't seen. Defy all the odds. It just inspired me so much, and I appreciate everyone I played with, all my coaches, staff, fans, the whole club. I appreciate everyone so much. I enjoyed it. This wasn't one of those sob stories, one of those sad stories, one of those shocking stories. It was a year that I needed to grow and to become a better player, a better person. And I appreciate everyone that was involved. I appreciate you guys. As always, stay subscribed because I'm rolling out the content. It's off-season time, so you know that means I got a lot of content coming. We're going to continue to talk more about what I experienced in Portugal, what I'm trying to do this summer. I got some secrets, some plans, some hidden gems. Just stay tuned, and I'll bring it to your front door.